It was a Sunday that could have been beautiful, but it ended up being a generic Sunday dinner with no seasoning. Welcome back to the channel. It's Rangers 2, it's St Johnstone 0, and let's just call as it is. That was a dire watch, and I mean, how many games are we now into the season? 7 league games, 2 Europa League games, 4 Champions... no, 4 Champions League qualifiers. Get down off your high horse when we played 2, because we were a bit dire there. Then in the League Cup, it's been 2, so I mean, there's 4 games, 6, 13 games, then you add in your friendlies. I mean, that's about 17 games this season. Honestly, 2 at the 17 games, I've been impressed. The 2-0 against Malmo and the 6-0 game against Ross County. Is that acceptable at Rangers Football Club, where I think we have been good/great in 2 out of 17 games? Well, the short answer is no, right? It hasn't been good enough, man. Clement has now been in the job for a year. It's approaching a year. It's obviously not quite a year yet, but once we return from the international break, it will be a year. I believe we got appointed on the 15th of October last year, so there is that. But there is no style of play. And end of the day, right, I don't actually care about a style of play if you're winning games of football. We did win today. You know, that's a lot of clean sheets in a row in the league. But, I mean, this is St Johnstone, man. I mean, this isn't winning 2-0 at Pataudry and it's, oh, well, you know what, just get the job done, whatever. It's playing a team that is realistically going to finish bottom 2. And we just did not look in the slightest bit convincing during this match. I mean, the positives, well, we saw Hagi return, which quickly turned into a negative, which we'll get to sooner rather than later. Another positive, Tierney. Hopefully he can reactivate his Instagram account, because he gets 2 goals today. But we do begin the game. Thought we start it brightly. Then St Johnstone get into it, a couple of half chances, and it kind of just made us go back into our shell like a turtle, man. It wasn't that impressive. We then had a corner. Dessers misses an open net header. It's like, right, so it's going to be one of those days. Say one of those. I predicted in the preview, Dessers will win 2-0, and Cyril Dessers will get 2 goals, because that's what he does. He scores against the lower league opposition. Well, he couldn't even score this, and when he couldn't score this, you knew it was going to be a long afternoon. It should be a long afternoon, but why we have had an 8 o'clock game at night on a Sunday is just absolutely baffling to me, man. Premier Sports, I'm going to assume. Smith then drags a shot wide for St Johnstone. We have a few block shots. You know, Tav gets one, Tierney had one. I've always said about Tierney this season, like, he should have been dropped, right? He shouldn't have started this game. Maybe that's why Clement gets paid the big bucks and I get paid Diddy bucks here on YouTube. But for me, after the performance against Leon and prior matches as well, I don't think Tierney should be anywhere near the starting 11 today. Same with James Tavernier. But he does get the goal. He scores. It's a good goal. And here, Tierney does have ability. I said he does have something in his locker. But he seems to be one of those confidence players. He's a one-trick pony. And if a team susses that out, he is so limited. And we've seen that in a lot of games this season. I mean, both goals came for his left foot, and that's what he's good at. You know, he's like Arjen Robben, man. Not quite as good. Not quite as good. Shouldn't even need to explain that. But yeah, this was a good goal. I'm not going to complain too much about it. I believe either side of this goal, we had a couple of James Tavernier free kicks. They are what they are. I mean, maybe 2-3 seasons ago, James Tavernier sticks them both in top bins. Not anymore. And that takes us to half time. You're thinking, right, it's not been exactly the greatest half of all time, but at least we're 1-0 up. Let's kick on. Hagi comes on. Brilliant. Ho, exactly what we wanted to see. Was it Ross McCausland he took off here? It was Ross McCausland he took off. Cyril Dessers, apart from missing an open net header, done absolutely nothing, man. And he throws the fucking toys at the pram when he gets subbed off. Why? I mean, you weren't good enough. You were shite. I've seen him do it before when he's had 2 goals, and you know, alright, that's acceptable because he wants the hat trick, but again, it's like, the match hasn't worked. Why not switch it up mid-game when we're 1-0 up, right? I think we actually moved 2-0 when he subbed on Igamani for Dessers, but why not stick 2 up front? We're against St Johnstone, man, we're at home. Give us something to be entertained by, but no. Let's just stick to the shitey old 4-2-3-1 that sometimes changes into a 4-3-3. Oh, the excitement, it's unbearable. Hagi though, come on. I mean, didn't have the greatest game, and we'll get into that in a minute. But he does set up Tierney. It's a defence, Pearson ball. Tierney then cuts in on his right, then gets back onto his left. I mean, it's a pretty tame shot. The goalie should save it for me, but he's completely mistimed his dive. It makes it 2-0. After this, Sidibe drags a shot wide. St Johnstone then have a 3-on-1 chance. I believe it is the caretaker manager's son, Kirk McKenzie. Well, he didn't play it back to Sidibe here, and makes you wonder if he's a Rangers man, because if he squares this back and St Johnstone make it 2-1, and then Hagi gets sent off, I get it, it would have changed the game at 2-1. You know, Rangers might have went up a gear, hell, they might have went down a gear. They might have bottled it, we might have went in reverse, but Hagi gets sent off. Not too many complaints to me. It's 2024. If this was a St Johnstone player, I probably would have wanted him subbed off. It's not, 94, it's not 2004 anymore. This is just always going to be a red these days, especially with VAR. I think without VAR, I think a yellow's acceptable, but once you slow it down and there's a freeze frame of Yanis Hagi's studs on the shin of the player of St Johnstone, it's always going to be a red. Again, I mean, it didn't appear that this guy was wearing any shin guards. And I think that makes a difference, if he's wearing the proper shin guards and his socks are like high, this doesn't hurt, but at the end of the day, this guy, I think that should be a rule. We've seen Jack Grealish, man, wear his fucking socks down to his Achilles. Don't understand it. I think you should be forced into wearing, mandatory shin guards at certain length just to, avoid this sort of stuff. Then St Johnstone had a ball whipped in to the box after this. It was a great ball. Nicky Clark puts it into the back of the net. Former Rangers man here. It was a great goal. It was offside for me. It looked level, but it's just weird. Some of these they get given, some of them they don't. Automate it. I mean, we've seen Arsene Wenger wants to bring in the rule where if it's like the upper body is off by 2 yards, they'll still give it. I said I don't like VAR. At the end of the day, it was actually the assistant that blew the whistle prior to this goal, so who really knows? And then after this, I mean, we got a couple more chances. They get a couple more chances, but it's a struggle watching Rangers. I mean, we're still 5 points behind Celtic and Aberdeen, and as I said at the beginning of this video, it could have been a beautiful Sunday. If Celtic drop points, I'm not even going to talk about Aberdeen dropping points because to me they're irrelevant, right? I mean, here, I've gave them credit over in football, but we've got bigger fish to fry, so to speak. We'll see how big the fish is at Aberdeen come the end of the season. But if Celtic did draw or get beat earlier and we won 2-0 in the same fashion as we did, you would just feel naturally much more positive about it. But the reality is, we get scudded by Leon. We've just watched a dire 90-odd minutes. Hagi returns, gets sent off, and we played pretty bad. And again, what is there to say? It's just Philippe Clement. I'm convinced that this guy won't see the new year. And that's on the back of 4 league wins in a row, 4 domestic wins in a row here with clean sheets. It just feels like he's on a tightrope and it's eventually going to snap. Anyway, we won 2-0. International break is here. And that's about it. Tierney, 2 goals. Reactivate your Instagram, big man. You're safe. It's time to go.